Welcome to the Tiny House Ideas podcast.
I think that essentialism is really based on the idea that you can't do it all.
Yeah.
And actually it's the most logical and defendable position in the world. Of course you can't. I mean, there can be no serious argument that you can actually do everything.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, there is a sort of dominant assumption in our times that seems to believe this unprovable, premise.
Yeah.
So you're sort of living under the pressure that you're supposed to be able to do it all, and all you have to do if you do it all, if you cram it all in, then you can have it all. So there's this untenable position. It's a sort of non-essentialism is, like, I think, a form of madness. However broadly you believe something, if it is not true, it's just going to cause you a lot of damage.
Yes.
And so I see the symptoms of non-essentialism everywhere, right? I mean, this is, as you mentioned, being stretched too thin, or being, busy but not productive, or where people's day is hijacking your day, and the hair agenda is constantly tapping on yours, or so many stresses and pains that can come from that. Essentialism is really just bringing us back to a reality, which is that in every yes, there are many, many no's. If I say yes to one thing, I am of necessity saying no to 10 things, 1,000 things.
That's true.
Many other options, I am saying no to them. So it is true that even as we try to apply non-essentialism, even as we get pulled into that nonsense, we are still saying no all the time. We're just not doing it consciously. We're not doing it with an awareness of, well, because I said yes to this, now I'm saying no to that. And so as a result, people make trade-offs they don't really mean to make. So an example of my own life, of course, was when I got an email from my boss at the time that said, look, Friday between 1 and 2 would be a very bad time for your wife to have a baby. Sure enough, we go into, daughter is born late hours Thursday. So I'm in the hospital Friday morning, and I'm torn. I'm trying to do what the non-essentialist would do, which is, how can I do both? How can I go to the meeting and be here for my wife and my daughter? And of course, that's the wrong approach. You've got to make a trade-off. But I didn't. I tried to do both. And so I went to the meeting, and even afterwards, I remember my manager saying, look, the client will respect you for the choice you just made. And I don't think the look on their faces evinced that sort of confidence, but even if they had, it's clear they made a fool's bargain. And so, what I learned is that if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. Yeah. And particularly, every yes is a no. Every time I'm saying yes, I say yes to that meeting, I'm saying no to my wife, no to my daughter. There is a trade-off. And essentialists just face that reality and, in fact, learn how to use it to their great advantage, so that they're very carefully making their trade-offs, curating which thing to say yes to and which many things to say no to. It's very empowering to discover the reality of trade-offs.
Yeah, no, it is completely. And I think it is just about sort of being really intentional and sort of making sure you take a step back and you can look at these decisions and sort of look at it and in terms of how it will affect things. And I think when we were saying about how a lot of people do fill their schedules and they are busy almost for the sake of it. I mean, it's the whole hustle culture, the whole hustle mentality that a lot of people have had ingrained into them sort of from a young age, that you are only successful if you achieve X, Y, and Z. Whereas now people have taken a step back, they're rethinking that, and success isn't always defined as the same things for everyone. So it's interesting that people are now exploring alternatives.
Yes, and about those alternatives, I just finished a new book, and it's called Effortless. Make it easier to do what matters, and I feel like it taps into all the zeitgeist that essentialism tapped into, and why that. I don't know that I wrote a great book with essentialism, but I think it addressed a great problem and a great question. So it seems to have done well because of that. Effortless, similarly, just what you said made me think of it, in this environment where so many people, highly capable, highly engaged individuals, are on the edge of the edge of burnout, or into it. This especially as we've had the year that we've just had, and this sort of just the mental and emotional strain of those changes, and uncertainty, and so on. I just feel like we have to learn a new mindset. So where essentialism is about focusing on the right things, effortless is about doing them in the right way.
Okay.
Because in fact, I've learned by working with people now all over that even after somebody identifies what's essential, even after they know it, even after they strip out the non-essentials, they still can have a problem. And that problem is they could still be trying to approach those essential things in a way that is unsustainable, in a way that's exhausting,
that makes
in a
sense.
harder, more complicated way than they need to.
Yeah, than it needs to be. Yeah.
And so we're making things very often harder than they need to be. And so the upside of that is that instead of constantly asking the question, okay, well, how can I work harder to make these things happen? You change the question and you say, well, is there an easier way to do this?
Is there an alternative?
Like easy. What's the easier path? Because
exactly,
if you are already pursuing what's important, what's essential, and then you still run out of space, you're faced with two choices. You can either give up on those essentials, or you can find an easier path. And those are like really your only two major options. And so this I think and I hope that effortless will prove relevant to people, because I think there's actually a great need for it right now, and great pain
completely
that people are experiencing.
Thanks for watching this little teaser for the Tiny House Ideas podcast. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, it's available on all major streaming platforms. So that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all of the others. Alternatively, if you'd rather watch it sort of in a video format like this video has been, then that's available on Patreon. Just search for Tiny House Ideas. So thanks again for watching. Please do check out the full episode, and thanks again.